lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
That's heavy.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And you know, the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it. And I've had a much, I'm much more empowered to be myself now.
Well, I admire that.
Oh, no, it's cool. Dude, let me tell you, it took a long time.
I'm begging anybody out there, before you go and get surgery, before you walk into these hair clubs to someplace, I'm telling you right now, I am $20,000 in the hole, and 10 years of stress, the last 3, an absolutely horrifying existence of stress and pain. And I can promise you, the stress of this hairpiece is 1,000 times more than I would have ever felt if I had just been confident with who I am, dealt with the fact that these are the cards I've been dealt, and deal with them, and just shave my head. And honestly, like Spencer said, not everyone's there, but that's where I'm at.
And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm about to laugh. I just got a very funny text. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Guys who are originally went to the Bald Truth website and saw that the show was not actually live, I forgot to embed the player, the new player. So you probably went to iTunes or to iHeartRadio or to Stitcher Radio. Maybe you're listening to the broadcast. Maybe you're on Joe Tillman's YouTube page, youtube.com/hairtransplant mentor. But if you want to watch on the Bald Truth, it is live right now. While I was doing the opening, I was able to multitask, embed the feed, and get the shit done. Now, with that said, I was talking to a lot of people this week about getting shit done. How's that for a segue?
That's a good segue.
And I got to tell you, when I think about what we accomplish here, what I do, and the essential the skill set that has been built over the last 21, 22 years to accomplish what we accomplish, week in, week out, day in, day out, that can't be taught. I tried to explain that to somebody, one of the higher-ups in the ISHRS, who is very open-minded, by the way, about what we are doing now. And hopefully this person really wants to help to affect change. And I was asked directly, well, they need to, bring somebody on board to, help with their social media. They need to do this, they need to do that. And I explained to this person, you can't hire any of these issues away. The only people that you can possibly bring on board or collaborate with to help, there's like 2. Maybe. I'd say 1.5. Sorry, Joe. I'm just kidding. I'd say 2, maybe 2.5. Or 2.25.
What are you even talking about?
Human beings in this entire industry that could help them turn the ship around, to change the message, to get their social media on track, to collaborate with us and the IHRS and everything that we're doing. You cannot hire a social media staff or a team. You cannot hire an advertising agency. No one understands this fucking field. I saw what this organization posted on their Facebook page today or yesterday. It's ridiculous. They are unable to develop or form a palatable just relationship with the consumer. It's impossible, no matter what they try. You seem preoccupied, my man.
Trying to find
doing a little show here. It's a radio show. We're on the air.
You talking about the other group that we used to be in, or that we used to participate in?
No. I'm talking about the other organization.
Yeah, but you said a post.
Oh, there was a post that was made on the organization's website.
On their website.
Not the website, I'm sorry, on their social media, on Facebook.
Okay, that's what I was, yeah.
And it was some video content from the AAD. The AAD does like this kind of like mock show on their. No, it's fine actually. It's actually it's fairly well produced. I mean, the only thing that I don't like about this type of programming that medical societies attempt to produce is it's so contrived, it's so generic. It doesn't really. There's nothing organic about it. There's nothing real about it. They're not really talking to, in my view, the consumer, and giving the consumer the ability to become privy to a conversation that they normally wouldn't be privy to. They're speaking at people. They are telling people what should be done and what shouldn't be done.
Yeah.
Instead of allowing people to come in and incorporate, their message, what their needs are, and then explain to them what can be done for them, what should be done for them, how we can approach particular, needs and situations. None of these guys have ever fucking gotten that. There was a guy that was at the 2018 ISHRS World Congress, which was, like I said, it was really impressive, by the way. And I'm glad it was here in Hollywood because I didn't really have to go far. It was like a 5-mile drive. But here in Los Angeles, that's like an hour.
I was going to say it takes like an hour. Yeah.
And that took about 20 minutes without traffic. So, a guy comes up to me, older gentleman. And when I say older, he's probably not that much older than me, maybe 10 years older than me. But he always seemed like an older guy to me. And he ran something called the National Hair Journal for many years. I think it's still around. I'm not sure if it's defunct or not. I know there's something out there. The guy's still around. And he shakes my hand. He's very cordial. Believe me, it's a pleasure for me to see anybody. The fact that I still wake up in the morning, I can open my eyes, I feel good. I can walk around. But this is a guy that actually kind of took the side, and I told him this a long time ago, of the industry, meaning that he wanted to do his own broadcast. He wanted to create his own content in the field. But instead of focusing on the consumer side of things, he focused on the sales side of things, the industry side of things, the side of the issue that, in my view, is the wrong side of the issue if you want to actually be a real success in this field at what we do. And why I'm explaining this to you, Joe, is because currently we're like in all kinds of debates on Facebook. We're talking about what's happening, in the industry as far as how we're going to be able to save it and turn the ship around. And, people are concerned about like shit like antitrust and all this bullshit that doesn't affect anything we do. All we have to do is educate patients properly, and the patients make their own choices. They're empowered to make smart decisions. You're not trying to control a fucking field or an industry by providing people with the truth.
Yeah.
I don't even understand that concept. Unless the people who are afraid of it, all they want is fucking control. I don't want control. I make money either way. If the industry's really fucked up, I make a lot of money. If we can turn the ship around, I make a lot of money. It doesn't make a difference to me. Except, on a personal level, I would prefer patients to be helped.
Hang on. You actually want patients to be helped?
I know. Isn't that a crazy concept?
It really is. It really, really is. I think that the whole education thing is a no-brainer, because every time I talk to patients, if they've been following along with what I do and what we do for even a few months, they get it. I was actually on the phone with a guy today in the United Kingdom, and we were talking about a bunch of things, but he was bringing up the idea of a couple of different doctors, and he named some names that I'm intimately aware of how all of these clinics and doctors that he was talking about do their procedure, and the difference.
Intimately aware.
Intimately aware.
Yeah.
Because I've been to some of these clinics.
I know.
And the difference between the two, or the two versions, or the two variations of the clinics, was that Some of the clinics were using technicians for the FUE scoring and extraction, and others were complete doctor involvement. Technicians were only placing into pre-made incisions. And I told him, I said, well, you know, Clinic A and Clinic B are great clinics. They have consistent results. They're quite good at what they do, obviously, because they have a good reputation. But the difference for you is if you want a doctor to do the procedure or if you want a technician that the doctor or the clinic is trained to do the procedure. And he stopped and he said, what do you mean? Don't they all have the doctor doing the procedure? And I said, well, no. I said that the doctor is there, but
that's a big negative.
There are 4 surgeries going on at any given time in this clinic, so the doctor can't be there to do all, you know, the FUE part of the procedure for all these patients. I said, but Dr. C, he sits there and he does it all himself, and then he makes incisions, and then the technicians place. And he was like, I had no idea. Well, obviously I want the doctor because these are his words, because I value the relationship I can build with the doctor. Boom! Education. This guy got it. After explaining the difference between the 2 clinics, he'd been following hair transplant education, the hair transplant mentor class. He's been watching our show. He's been watching you since before I even came on board. And it was just setting up that difference, factually based difference. Both sets of clinics are great, but he needed to know this detail because so many times I get emails and talk to people on the phone or through Skype where they say, I got to the clinic, everything is going great, and the doctor walked out of the OR. And suddenly this person I'd never met before was doing my surgery.
Right, and they're panicking. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. What's
going on? They panic, and they do fuck all about it. They sit there, and they're shitting their pants while they're having surgery.
That's what they're trained to do. I am a neurotic Jew. I could be under anesthetic. My head could be cut open. And if I see something that's going on that I don't like, I will take out whatever it is, I will get up and scream bloody murder.
Yeah.
That's the type of human being I am.
Most people aren't.
I know that. I know that. So that's why it's difficult for me to, I understand it.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of my career, I was like, you guys are like fucking sheep.
Well, yeah.
What are you doing?
That's a little different issue. But,
yeah.
But the beautiful part of this discussion was that he got it just like that because he's already educated as to what it means to him to have an actual doctor do the procedure or a true licensed professional do the procedure. Nothing wrong with the other clinics.
And guys, by the way, hold on. I see in the chat room some people are saying they're having trouble calling in, and that, dude, if there's a line open, you get right through. You're connected. Nothing gets dropped. If for some reason,
someone's saying can't call via Skype, really lame. JL in the chat room. When you call in, you might not get a busy signal. And if you don't, Spencer, what does that mean? It means that he's actually in the queue?
No, well, this is what would happen. If you call in and then you hear the show on the phone, that means you're in the queue. If you call in and you don't get a busy signal, but the phone drops, that means that all lines are lit.
Yeah.
Period.
And let's also make sure that he's got the UK number in case he's calling from the UK. UK number is 0203 3724 683, and of course North America wide, Canada, US and Mexico, 1-800-659-3727.
Yeah, Skype calls we may have problems with Skype calls, and I have to kind of figure that out. But as far as any normal cell service, you'll get through.
Yeah.
Now there may be tolls that are, it depends. If you're calling from out of the country and you're trying to call the toll-free number, it's possible that it's not going to get through, depending on where you are. Yeah. I also have local numbers that I can put up. Sometimes I think, you know what, maybe I should just get rid of the fucking toll-free number and just put up local numbers. And that's it. I've been paying for these calls for years. Fuck them. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, Spencer and Joe. This is Jared from Utah.
Jared from Utah. What's happening,
Jared.
man? How are you?
Yeah, I called in back in June or July, I think.
You know what's sad,
this year.
Jared? This is what's sad for you, and I'm sorry to say this, but your name is now tainted.
Oh, that's all right.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what he's talking about.
Jared from Subway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 It's
Yeah,
not it's
Jared Jewelers, you know.
nothing personal. Well, yeah, actually, Jared Jewelers is what is it? He should have gone to Jared, or he went to Jared. Was that? Yeah. Anyway, so
you
I
usually see him around
could hear you in the back. I could hear myself in the background. So you got to turn down your radio or your computer, or your however you're listening to us.
And let me interrupt real quick. JL in the chat room says the lady's voice says your ID is not clear. We don't accept your call. Sorry. That means, I think, that he needs to enable caller ID on his Skype. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. There you go. So it's on your end.
And there's no lady on the phone, dude. It's automated. It's a computer. All right, so Jared, listen, I'm sorry about that, but every time I hear your name, it's just like I just think of this guy. You know, he did so great for himself with Subway, and he fucked it all up by being, you know, an alleged sick human being. Didn't he get killed in prison? Joe?
Man, I have no idea.
I don't know.
Well, Google that shit. All right, so Jared, so what's happening?
Hey, so I just thought I'd call in and just kind of give you guys an update or just share my experience. Yeah. So when I called back in June or July, I was talking about, you know, I was worried about my hair loss at the point where it was getting, and I was asking you guys, you know, advice on getting on finasteride, and, you know, other different things I could do. And so I went to my doctor, and I've been on finasteride for probably 2.5, 3 months, somewhere in there. And I took your guys' advice, well, Joe mainly, and I started off slow. I took 1 pill a week for the first month, and then 2 pills second month. And then I decided to go full dosage just recently, probably the past 2 or 3 weeks, just because things are going really well. I'm happy to say I have no side effects. I was absolutely terrified, if you guys can remember.
I remember.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I mean, I even said, you know, take the plunge off a cliff. That's how like scared I was.
Yeah, and you were also so desperate to do something. And I hear myself, and I don't know are you still listening to us, or is it some sort of feedback from your phone?
I heard it for a second. Now it's gone.
No, I don't know. I don't have anything playing. Yeah, I don't have anything playing, or I just have my phone call right now. That's it.
Okay, no problem. Okay. No problem. I mean, I hear myself. It's very distracting. It makes it difficult to speak to you, but whatever. I'm just kidding. I will work through it. But
sorry about that.
No, here's the thing. You initially, when you called in, you were terrified of 2 things. You were terrified of losing your hair, and you were so terrified of losing your hair that you were willing to essentially, like you said, take the plunge, jump off a cliff to potentially save it. But you wanted to make sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you were making all the right decisions before you took that plunge, which you were pretty convinced of, if I remember correctly, that you were going to end up having side effects no matter what you did. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah. So the good news is you listened to Joe, and you're happy to report now you're on a full dose with no side effects, and you're probably going to be one of the guys that saves their hair.
Yes, I hope. I don't know.
And by the way, Jared, you know I'm not a doctor, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I know
just making sure that was clear.
Now, I think this is really important. You know, there are companies out there like Keeps and Hims, and Hims is actually killing it, who, you know, when you go online and you read about these companies, you're not reading, and they've been out there for a while, and they're filling more prescriptions for finasteride than anybody in the world. You are not reading about their product, causing adverse side effects or long-term side effects or causing people to become impotent and things of that nature. Because the insane thing is that guys who are using Hims or Keeps don't even fucking realize they're on Propecia. They're getting generic finasteride. They're not looking it up. They just see this commercial and they're like, wait a second, I can stop my hair loss and a doctor's going to help me? They do it. They don't worry about it. And they seem to be fine. So the pendulum is kind of swinging in the other direction, for sure. I'm seeing more and more people, young guys who are thankfully able to save themselves and stop the progression of their hair loss without the sheer terror of giving this medication a shot. Now, I'm not saying for all you guys who are suffering with post-finasteride syndrome that this isn't a real thing, that there aren't those, there's a group of people who are the anomalies. I just cracked myself up. I used that word today and something else. The anomalies who may be suffering, a subset of guys who are suffering with these adverse side effects. But the reality is most guys do not. And Jared, luckily you're one of those guys.
Yes. I mean, whether or not the finasteride, saves my hair or helps me, right now, I'm just so thankful that I can at least try this medication, that I've been on it for this amount of time, and I haven't had all the horrible, scary side effects. I mean, that just in of itself, I just am very happy with, and from here on out, now it's like it can only get better. I hope at least. And I got to tell you guys, and I know everyone says this, when they get on finasteride, but I should have started taking it probably, a year or two ago. I wish I would have.
Can't count how many times I've heard that.
Yeah. And because I got to tell you, I underestimated, my hair loss isn't terrible, but it's to the point where definitely noticeable. And it has definitely had an impact, on my life, like as far as how I feel about myself and being self-conscious, even to the point where, I struggle to go to class. Some days I struggle to get to work on time, go to social events. It's been really hard on me. I've definitely underestimated how difficult this would be for me.
Well, I think most people do until it actually happens. I'm sorry to cut you off, John. Until it actually happens to themselves, because I never thought about hair loss until I noticed it. And when I noticed it, it was like I was hitting the head with a fucking brick. It destroyed me. I was not equipped to deal with it at all, and I went into a tailspin, a panic. I was miserable. I was unhappy. I was in a deep, dark depression. As a matter of fact, I was so fucked up over it, I turned it into my career. So, I'm one person who understands how badly this can affect you. And my hope is that, we posted to these doctors that were on the air live. My hope is that there are at least a few doctors in this industry who are listening to this broadcast right now, who are listening to your story, who instead of fighting over the bullshit politics of this industry and what should and shouldn't be done in order to save their own fucking asses and keep to their agenda, and maybe think about guys like yourself, Jared, who really just need help, who are out there, and every move that these doctors make and every decision they make through their political, bureaucratic ridiculousness affects the lives of those guys just like you, and thousands of them just like you, who can't get out of bed in the morning, who can't go to class in the morning. And imagine, Jared, if you went in and you ended up having fucked up surgery, how that would make you feel. You're just dealing with the initial throes of hair loss. Imagine if you try to correct it and you got fucked up. That's devastating.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry that I'm using your story to stand on a soapbox to communicate to these. I don't want to even use the term because it's too disrespectful. But shit has to change because hair loss hurts. That's what I've always said. That's a trademark, by the way. And it really does hurt. It's not a joke. And I'm glad you were able to express that today, Jared. And I'm really glad that you now at least have the opportunity and feel that you're able to take control of the situation. I know you're thinking, well, if it works, you took the first step. You are now in the driver's seat. That's all.
Yes, I mean, I totally agree. I think, maybe I can speak for some other guys in my position, that may not be comfortable saying things or whatever. But I mean, it's hair loss. I think it's a big deal nowadays for younger guys, and a lot of guys just try to hide it, and they're ashamed. They don't know how to help themselves. But on the other side, it really does destroy, guys' lives, I think. And, I'm an example of, like I said, this has been terrible for me for the past probably about 3 or 4 years.
Hold on, Joe, can you type any louder, maybe?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay. Thank you.
How's that?
Jesus, this guy's he's giving us everything he's got.
I'm multitasking.
Sorry, Jared.
Keep going.
Oh, you're good. I just think just society as a whole, they just don't understand. Generally most people just don't understand how difficult hair loss is to deal with, especially at a young age. And you know what? I can't imagine, though, a young lady who's in her 20s, 30s, even 40s having to deal with hair loss. That seems even worse to me.
Well, you know what?
Luckily, it doesn't happen as much, but...
Well, it does happen almost as much. 40% of hair loss sufferers are women. They are just in a position to hide it better, yeah. Because they can wear falls and wigs and hair pieces and extensions and get away with it because wearing hair for women is not socially unacceptable, However, it does really fuck with them mentally. Their interpersonal relationships, they have to kind of give the talk, and let people know that, I'm dealing with hair loss, I'm wearing a wig, whatever. It's devastating. I have countless women contacting me through the American Hair Loss Association. I wrote actually the most read book on women's hair loss in the world. It's only been out of print for 2 years. But, when I put that book on the market through Contemporary Books back in 2000, it flew off the shelves. And I knew that it would because the issue is that big. There's a great site that you guys could all check out if there are any women out there who are listening kind of like on a download. It's called womenshairlossproject.com. And it really shows you what young women deal with. The average age of women on that site, probably in their mid-30s. And they're all dealing with androgenetic alopecia. And they're wearing hair pieces or wigs. And they're talking about living their lives. And, these are brave people. And the founder of that site is an incredibly brave person who's changed many, many thousands of women's lives and given them hope. So, look, to me, chick is losing her hair, glue some hair on. As long as you look good, I don't give a shit, But they don't see it that way.
No.
They are completely devastated by it. They become recluses, just like guys do. And it's something that's completely unrecognized. It is a silent epidemic of proportions that, I talk about this being a silent epidemic of biblical proportions. Women's hair loss is that is really on the down low.
Yeah, it's much worse because it's not socially acceptable for women to be bald.
Right.
It is socially acceptable for men to be bald. Like there's so many bald men walking around, and look how tough of a time men have with hair loss.
Right.
It's compounded by an exponential factor for women. I mean, it's all relative, but when you look at the differences, women have far fewer options to accept being bald than men do. With men, we'll just shave it off and go to the gym, deal with it. With women, no, it doesn't work like that.
And everyone thinks that women who are dealing with hair loss are sick. Everyone thinks that women who are dealing with hair loss are, going through some sort of, they may have cancer, chemotherapy. They're dealing with other issues, thyroid. They're dealing with genetic issues just like men. It's androgenetic alopecia, except it's usually an unpatterned form of AGA, and it's a diffuse form, and it's fucked up. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because there's plenty of women who listen to us who don't. They kind of feel they can't call in because it really is a guy show, as far as, mostly guys call in. But I want women to feel free to call in to tell their experiences as well. But Jared, listen, man, I'm really happy for you. I'm glad you took a huge step. You got past this point, and chances are, at least clinically and statistically, you have about an 86% chance of maintaining the hair that you have right now. So, that's not so bad. The odds are pretty good.
Yeah. And I just have a quick question for you, you and Joe. So I'm on the 5 milligram, just generic. The brand is called Accord, I believe. And I'm just cutting it into fourths right now. And I just was wondering, I've been reading on different forums and things like that, and people are saying that the consistency in the fourths, when you cut the pill in fourths, could be, I guess, not very evenly spread out among the pill.
I can tell you this. You need to know this, okay? In general, and I'm sorry if this offends any human beings out there. In general, people are idiots. That's just the way that it is. Do not read the forums and trust the forums. Think about how a drug is manufactured. Do you think that these things aren't made in tremendous vats where everything is just mixed completely solidly and evenly, and then they're formed into tablets that are then coated? What can possibly make the distribution of the drug uneven? There's not some human being, that's just slowly sprinkling in, these molecules and this drug into like some sort of a pill box, into a capsule. This stuff is mixed. These are mixed in huge vats. I think there was a time when doctors were telling patients this, and maybe the drug companies or the drug reps were telling these physicians this, and again, I could be wrong, so that they wouldn't prescribe the 5 milligram dose to their patients to cut up, so that they would stick to prescribing the 1 milligram dose and the brand name. So none of it. Just think about it reasonably. It's illogical. It doesn't make sense that it wouldn't be evenly distributed throughout the entire tablet. Joe, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree 100% with that. I've heard this for years. People telling me that taking like a ProScar tablet and cutting it into quarters, that they were told by someone, sometimes other doctors, sometimes non-doctors, that it's not an even distribution, so they're not getting the same amount of finasteride with every piece they're taking. And I correct them and I say, well, the only reason that you don't get the same amount every time is because you're not taking the same amount of a pill, since you can't cut it into perfect quarters.
That's right, yes.
But it's close enough.
Yeah.
It's like 1.25 one day versus 1.17 the next. It's like, who cares? I mean, it doesn't make a difference. As long as you have, you build up a consistency over time based on how often you decide to take it, that's what matters. So maintaining a certain level of the medication in your system, that's what gets the results. It's not taking 1.95 and then 0.3 the next. It doesn't work like that. The distribution inside the tablet is even. It's not like they take one little tablet and they're making one at a time and got too much on this side instead of this side. Well, let's go to the next one. It doesn't work like that.
So listen, man, we're going to take. I hope we answered your questions. We're going to take some more calls. I wish you the best of luck. You're taking a U.S. generic, which is great, And I think that you are probably in a really good position to do well with it. And I'm really glad you're not having side effects.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
man?
Do you think I would benefit by going to the 1 milligram generic? Because I was thinking about that. Or do you think does it really matter?
We're both not physicians, so you would talk to your doctor about that. But in my opinion, it's not going to make a difference.
Okay.
If you're taking if it's the same generic, I don't believe it's going to make a difference.
That's the thing. You got to make sure it's the same manufacturer. And like
I think
what you just said.
I think Accord is I think they're like in North Carolina,
right? I personally don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an American
I think so.
company. Yeah.
But when you said going from the 5 to the 1, that immediately raised a red flag for me, because what you don't want to do is mess with anything that you found is working for you. The only caveat in your particular situation is if the manufacturer is the same. So in that case, sure. If it's not the same, I wouldn't fuck with it. I'm not a big believer. It's like
either way, if your insurance pays for it, whatever. I mean, it's cheaper. Well, your insurance actually probably shouldn't pay for it if it's just for hair loss. Well, yeah, your insurance will pay for. No, actually, no, it won't. Your insurance shouldn't pay for it either way at your age. But whatever it is, it's cheaper if you buy the 5 milligrams. So I wouldn't fuck with it.
Yeah.
You have no adverse side effects.
Yeah, I was just thinking, since then when you cut up the 5 milligram, it's more, I guess the inside of the pill is more exposed, and I was thinking maybe I may not get as much of an absorption, or it may not be as effective because I might lose.
Unless that pill is, and again, we're not physicians. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a drug manufacturer that you know of. Just kidding. You fucked up if I had like a meth lab in the back.
Yeah, I want the good stuff.
I can say that there is something to be said about the pill being open to oxidation, to the air for a long period of time. But if you're taking it every day, and it's in an amber pill bottle that's not getting a tremendous amount of oxygen and is in a cool, dry place, it is unlikely that you are diminishing or degrading the quality of the drug, even the last piece, if it's only cut open for 4 days.
In a dark place too, because I heard that light.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why the amber bottle is
yeah,
important.
Amber, yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Listen, we got to take some more calls. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
All right.
Thanks for calling, Jared.
Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Take care.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Guys, the Iron Man suit is actually in the green room. For those who are asking about where my Iron Man suit is. So
I thought I saw something about that.
You know, I tell you what's very funny is I get that all the fucking time. The Tony Stark thing.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Just the only thing that bothers, I mean, I'm not saying he's a great looking dude and all that stuff, but he like really dyes his shit, which, makes him look like a magician.
And he's really small.
Well, yeah, but no one knows it. People don't even know if I have legs, for crying out loud.
This is true. They don't know if you have pants, much less legs.
All right, let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Europe. Thank you for the show. And I have 3 questions for you, both of you.
You sound very familiar.
That might be so. Well,
and who may I ask is calling?
What's your name?
George. So, George,
Yeah.
So is this your new name?
Yeah, they change all the time.
It changes all the time.
Yeah.
So how are you, man? Long time no speak. I'm glad to see you're still around. What's going on?
I'm fine. I still have normal 2.5, recessed temple areas, but I managed to maintain this situation with both finasteride and dutasteride.
It's amazing.
And I also take minoxidil 5% 2 times a day.
And we're talking, this is for like about 8 years or so.
Yeah. And I recently stopped dermarolling my temples. and also I eat a lot of consume a lot of vitamins and so on, so my hair is quite healthy. But I wanted to ask you 3 questions. One is regarding, basically, can I ask them all in order or one by one? How would you prefer it?
I would like them one by one. I would like them backwards, if you can. Last being first.
Which first?
Whatever you want, dude. Any order you want.
Okay. I know you might have covered this before, but since you talk about hair issues all the time, lots of stuff can repeat. So I thought maybe Joe could talk a little bit about this detumescence. The detumescence, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, therapy, and this theory of calcification of temple areas where they become like shiny and barren, and hair in those areas is being lost, and then you can possibly rejuvenate those areas and restore hair there with this microneedling or dermarolling or something like that. I recently started it, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. I've seen some very good results on forums, but people there really went overboard with it. Like they dermaroled until they were bleeding, but they regrew hair. So maybe those are some few anecdotal cases, but I would like to know your opinion. And then the other question, I have 2 more actually, but maybe you want to answer this one first.
Joe, go ahead, man.
I think that with dermarolling, there is evidence that it does work, and it's a wounding reaction, so that when you have all these little micro wounds to your skin, the idea is that obviously blood rushes to the wound to heal it, but there's a stem cell reaction where apparently the follicles that are still in that area are rejuvenated or somehow affected by this healing action, and it rejuvenates those follicles to produce a new hair where previously it stopped, or those hairs are miniaturized and they become thicker over time. However, this isn't a cure. No one's curing their hair loss with this. The only people that are having major results that are having any sort of real turnaround are those that are having minor issues of miniaturization to begin with. You're not seeing major turnarounds with people that have a slick, bald area of hair loss, and then suddenly it's full of hair again at a density that's worth maintaining. I've never seen it. I've seen cases where dermarolling with PRP have brought back some temples in some patients. One of the doctors I works with has a patient that was in his early 20s that brought his temples back through that. But even then, it wasn't. I mean, it was a very noticeable improvement, but it wasn't native density. It was enough to make the patient happy, and it was a really impressive turnaround. But that was an exception to the rule. Hello?
I think the guy's taking notes.
Yes.
You're banging on that keyboard, man, like Tillman. So you're calling from where in the world are you calling from again, or have you changed where you live?
Yeah, Europe.
You're calling from Europe, so it's not Romania at this point still? Maybe. Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to take some notes, but I will stop it. I'm calling from Skype.
Okay.
How often one should dermarol, and what would be the ideal needle size?
Dude, I have to tell you that I'm not a huge fan on a personal level of going full force with a derma roller. There are guys who are using 0.5 millimeters all the way up to to 1 millimeter that are essentially destroying their scalps, causing with each pass they're causing some degree of fibrotic tissue to rebuild. I would say that most people are pretty safe with 0.2.
It's 0.5.
That's 0.5.
That's what I use.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys who are using 0.5. The studies, there are some small studies out there, but I just don't think that they are significant enough to show that you're going to have long-term results. That's it. You know? I'm not saying that not to do it. I'm just saying that, it's hard for us, and again, we're both not physicians, to recommend the size of a dermal roller that you should use and what's going to be the best possible choice. Now, what have you read?
Okay. Thank you for covering that. Could I ask you regarding beard transplants?
Let me ask you, dude. You've been around. You've been calling the show for a decade, 8 years or so. You're Norwood, as you put it, 2.5. You've maintained your hair for well over a decade. You must be in your 30s by now, right?
And not a decade, maybe like 8-9 years, and I'm 30. Yes.
You're 30 now.
30.
So you're a grown man. What's your life like
Yeah.
now? Have you obviously completed your education? Are you married? Tell me what's going on in your life.
No, I'm not married, but I'm relatively successful, and I try to improve myself as much as I can.
You still bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you must be huge. You must be totally ripped by now and jacked.
I'm pretty big.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I would probably just continue doing what you're doing, not even think about hair transplants at this point. You are winning. You're winning, dude.
Well, exactly. I agree regarding the hair, but I want to get a beard, and I tried minoxidil for a year, and I couldn't grow anything. And I have a theory that is because my DHT levels are so low that my beard cannot grow. And I wanted to ask Spencer if you have a thick beard, or are you shaving it, or you have none? Because Joe has quite a beard, and you both take anti-androgens.
Well, if you look, I'm going to show you in the camera right now. I have it's called a round beard. Some people call it a goatee. And as you can see, the mustache and the beard are very, very full, except the beard is white. When I grow out the cheeks and under the chin, it gets pretty full. I mean, it's probably not as thick as Joe's. The thickest part for me is the mustache and the chin, but it's pretty significant. It's not like it's patchy or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I can hide small children in mine.
Pretty much.
What was that?
And I have pretty much no beard, almost none. And I'm not sure why, because my testosterone is very high. But I was considering maybe there are some options to do full beard transplant without sacrificing scalp hair, maybe using leg hair or something of that sort, or maybe arm hair.
There are guys now who are transplanting pubic hair to eyelids. There are guys, there's all kinds of shit that's happening out there, and you can take the risk of using leg hair or chest hair to put on your beard. You're going to need a lot. It's not going to grow to in my view, to the coarseness that you're going to need to really get a good beard. I've seen very few really great beard hair transplants. One I saw recently, which was an Asian guy who looks like he is a lumberjack at this point, but that's pretty rare.
That was amazing.
Yeah. You're 30 years old. You've been living your life without a beard. Don't fuck with yourself,
I want
man.
to get a beard to look more masculine.
You don't think you look masculine?
No, I have infantile features.
Dude, when you're my age, you're going to be happy that you have that. Enjoy yourself, dude. Enjoy your life. Yes, you can get a beard hair transplant. There are guys who would do it. If you have enough body hair, it's possible to get it done. It may or may not work. You may or may not be scarred for life. You may or may not end up spending and wasting a lot of money and regretting the thought that came across your mind that you would consider doing something that is, in my view, so severe. And it's just, I don't know. I don't want to push my opinion on you as far as whether or not this is something that's important. However, I think that you would be taking too much of a risk. The risk benefit to me just doesn't make sense. Joe, what do you think?
What are the major risks with beard transplant?
Well, if you want to get a beard transplant, you got to use scalp hair to really get a good density. Period.
No, you can't sacrifice that.
If you can't sacrifice it, then to experiment with body hair to put in your face, in my view, is ridiculous.
What are you going to do if you experiment with body hair and it fails miserably, and you got a bunch of pock marks on your beard because half the hairs that are growing ingrown and are causing pimples and cysts?
I don't want to grow a huge beard. I just want to maintain a thick 5 o'clock shadow, so it seems that it's there, but I don't actually want to grow like a huge beard. I just want to have the shadow.
But the hair still has to grow. And if you want enough hair for a 5 o'clock shadow, that's a lot of hair.
That's more hair than it would be if you grew the hair, if you try to maintain a longer beard.
Actually, he's absolutely correct. You need more hair for a believable and noticeable 5 o'clock shadow than you do to be able to grow it out and look like you have a beard. Do you realize that?
Now there are no options, it seems.
There's not. Like if you want to utilize your scalp hair, that's one thing. But you're a guy that for the past 10.5 years has been trying everything under the sun to maintain a Norwood 2.5, as you put it. The last thing you want to do is use your scalp donor for your beard. And if you don't have...
Scalp is way more important.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. So listen, man, I'm so happy that after all these years, you're still tuning in, you're okay, and that you have maintained your hair. Now, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one favor. Will you give us your famous tagline?
It puts the Minox on the skin or else it gets the hose again.
What was that?
What? What do you mean?
The tagline, it's not the hair on your head.
It's not the hair on your head that matters. It's the hair in your heart.
All right, man. Listen, great to hear from you. You sound well. I'm really happy that you've maintained your hair for all these years. You take care of yourself, all right? And thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks for calling.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is.
That was great.
Hey, man, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, man, say hi. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hey, Spencer, this is Vic from D.C., brother.
Hey, Vic from D.C., what's happening?
Vic.
Hey, man. Hey, I just want to call in today. I the first time tuning in live for a Friday show.
Well, welcome.
Really cool, man. How was your Halloween, man? Last time I called, there was you had the doctor's costume on.
Dude, Halloween was killer. Went out in the doctor's costume. There was some low-hanging fruit at the bar. It was just a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I pretty much I didn't dress up as anything, but yeah, I was watching some of the trick-or-treaters come around in our neighborhood. Nowadays, it seems like every woman wants to dress up as like a cat. Have you noticed that? Or?
It's either a cat or a hooker nurse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Actually, one of the reasons I called today, I was just remember way back in the day, you and Andrew Zarian and Coco used to do this show called
The Free For All.
Friday Night Free For All. Do you guys still do that? Or?
We do not. Andrew has become a baby making factory. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got 2 children now, and he is just working his balls off, and somehow trying to stay sane. But I think there will be a time when we start doing some more stuff together. We've been talking about it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because that show was just fun. I remember some of the stuff that you and I think it was like every now and then Andrew Zarian would bust Coco's balls, and then you'd come to his defense and stuff.
Yeah, it was always a good cop bad cop thing with Coco. But then when Coco had the opportunity to come to my defense, when this real jerk off came into their studio and started to attack what we do here on The Ball of Truth.
Oh shit!
Coco didn't come to my defense.
Oh shit! Who was the jerk off?
I'd rather not talk about it, but
okay.
I wouldn't even give the guy any credit. But
okay.
I was like, my man, and I just filed that shit away with Coco.
Oh man, that sucks. Oh well.
No, but
Anyway.
but maybe one day we'll do the program again. We're all a lot older now. I'm the only one who hasn't aged. These other guys look like hell. But I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because I was hearing the last guy on the phone. It seems like he's doing well. It seems like.
Do you remember who he is? I'm not even going to say who he is because he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't want us to use his old online handles.
Honestly, I remember the hair on the heart, the hair on your head, the hair in the head, hair in the heart thing.
It's not the hair on your head; it's the hair in your heart.
It's the hair in your heart.
Right.
And Zarian does the best impression of this dude.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that I remembered the guy, but now the whole thing about him wanting a beard transplant to look more masculine, I was like, listen, man, there are bigger problems in this world than a guy who can't grow out a full beard,
Let me tell you, the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, one of the best advantages I ever had is I do wear facial hair, but I've always had like a youthful face, and when I shave, it's like a baby face, and it's just been you may not have that George Clooney thing happening, but you're always cute and good looking enough for the hottest women, and you stay young forever. So there's nothing wrong, like he says, he has an infantile face. There's nothing wrong with having a youthful appearance. You don't have to look like. Yeah, you don't have to look like Clint Eastwood.
It might be even better because, that means, Spencer, you don't have to go in for all of those Botox, or you don't have to do any of that stuff.
Oh, not yet. I mean, I'm not. Well, first of all, I wouldn't do that for many reasons because I know too much. But when gravity really starts to hit, it's going to be cold hard steel, my man. That's how I operate.
I love that. Cold hard steel.
Cold hard steel. You don't fill your face with shit because you know what you do? You create these pockets, and that actually ages you faster. And the idiots out there who continue to get this done have no clue because they're being sold a bill of goods, in my opinion, by these doctors who are just trying to make a buck. And that's my soapbox for the day.
Well, Spencer, I mean, the thing is, eventually there might be a show where you just expose the entire medical industry. It might not just be hair loss anymore. I mean, I had no idea about that.
Oh, I am about to go insane. I'm going to go ham in time. I've really been thinking about it lately. It's, you know what? I was actually speaking to somebody about, and this person said, well, we both have to, we all have to kind of walk this razor's edge because we have to make a living and we have to, we want to help people. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. I don't have to if I choose not to do that. Now, here's the thing. I believe that earning money, money really signifies, money's not just about money. It really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not signifies, but it is essentially shows the value of your work and how you affect people's lives in this world. So when you get paid for your work, when people don't pay you for what you do, it devalues what you do. And people don't think it's quite as important. And there's been a lot of studies as far as people who volunteer and do all this stuff, and their work doesn't seem to be as valued as those that get paid for their efforts. Now, with all that said, if I chose not to earn any more money, that would not be good for the field, and it would not be good for a lot of people in the field, and it would not be good for, like you said, especially the cosmetic field, because it is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
We can go completely, and Joe too, we can go ham. We know where all the bodies are buried.
Man, that's crazy. I swear to God, I don't want doctors to come after you or to hate you or anything, but the whole reason
too late.
The whole reason the thing is, the whole reason I tune into the Bald Truth is because you're completely transparent, and because you tell everyone, you and Joe and Specs and whoever is involved with your organization, they don't hide anything, they don't sugarcoat anything. Everything like is completely transparent. That's why I tune in. But the thing is that I don't know if the rest of the cosmetic industry has this kind of transparency.
Well, they
So
don't.
it's like
They don't. And I actually started a program called Plastic Surgery Live, and I started about 5 years ago, and I did a lot of pilot shows. And I originally started working with the first live broadcast that I did was in conjunction with Real Self, which is a very well-known cosmetic surgery consumer-facing website. After that first experience, and I'm not going to get into particulars, I was really turned off. And I decided, you know what? I don't know if I want to work with this particular company, even though it would have catapulted that program right away. But I was put in a position where I would have had to make a lot of concessions. I was asked to do certain things that I didn't want to do. And actually, the very first live show that I did, originally, the company wanted to promote liquid facelifts. And I said, I can't, there's no such thing as a liquid facelift. You're basically, you're selling bullshit. I said, I'll talk about liquid facial rejuvenation. I'll talk about using fillers. I'll talk about I will describe it as the truth, what it is, but I'm not going to use a term like vampire facelift, liquid facelift, or anything, any type of promotion that I do for this broadcast. That was the first issue. And they, in my view, they took issue with that. And I had to kind of like force my will not to, to be able to do the program without having to promote it in that way, because that's what they thought would get eyeballs. So, yeah, I mean, there will be a time when I have more time and I'm going to be able to really do this. But I will tell you, and again, I know you guys are calling in about hair, but I did a program, a pilot show, which got a lot of views. It was like, we got about 15,000 views to the video, with a local Beverly Hills plastic surgeon who admitted that he would never allow his family, or he would never do it himself, to be injected with fillers. And he stated clearly that, in general, he believes that these substances, if used on a regular basis, will age people more rapidly and essentially disfigure them. And again, this is not what I'm saying. And but he did say that, it's actually good for his business because people have to get facelifts at a younger age.
Huh.
So think about that shit.
Whoa. Wow. I had no idea. I mean, yeah, anyways, the funny thing was like, but anyways, I don't want to take up too much time. I know you have more callers, but I have one last question. It has nothing to do with hair loss. I mean, ever since you cured me, pretty much whenever I call the show, it's almost had nothing to do with it.
Well, first I want to explain that it wasn't like there was a magic wand and I cured you of hair loss. I cured you of your obsession over hair loss.
Yes. Just for the viewers who have never, who are tuning in for the first time, when I say Spencer cured me of hair loss, I don't mean regaining my hair. I mean, like,
Spencer shared the cure that he's keeping from the world.
Yes.
When I say Spencer cured me from hair loss, I say pretty much I never think about hair ever again. I don't visit forums. I don't think about hair. It's pretty much the last thing on my mind. So that's what
I wish I was you, because I'm just still devastated by the whole thing. But go ahead.
Well, I just want the viewers who are tuning in the first time never heard it. I'm not going to the whole story, but pretty much it got to the point where. The funny thing is, Spencer, way back in 2003 or 4, I was in Barnes & Noble's, and way before I ever met you, I actually sat down and I read one or two chapters from The Bald Truth. It was in Barnes & Noble. It was a hardback copy.
It would have been nice if you would have purchased it, but whatever.
You're one of those guys. You sit there with your coffee for 3 hours and read, and then walk out with only your coffee being purchased. I get it.
No. I wanted.
Look, how many people read that book? Listen, it's fine. You know what I mean. You contributed to this program, which helped a lot of people. There's so many books out there that are still in circulation in 5 different languages, and sometimes I open the mailbox, and I'm looking at a check, and I'm like, this shit's still coming in.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh, yeah.
ridiculous.
I was in Barnes and Nobles in early 2000s, and I was just there for a little bit, so I read 1 or 2 chapters, but I had no idea I was actually going to talk to you in the future. At early 2000, my hair loss, it was nowhere. It was just, I was like a Norwood 1, maybe like Norwood 1.5 or 2, but it was everything was good. It was thick and strong, and because my genetics had basically went downhill rapidly. But anyways, just coming back, everything came back full circle. It's to the point where, like, read your book eventually in 2010 or so. I talked to you for the first time, and then it was that I'm telling the viewers, without going into the whole story, it was after a few phone calls with Spencer. And let me just tell the people who are watching, if they're on the fence, they're making decisions. There were 5 or 6 surgeons, both IAHRS and not IAHRS, who were ready to take my money. But Spencer, after everything I told him, he talked me out of it, and it was the best thing ever. And it was specifically, I remember, it was a phone call with Spencer and Specs. After every single thing I told him on the phone about what I wanted, what my expectations were, what my donor was like, I've never been on medication, etc. They talked me out of it, and it was the best decision ever. I saved anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. I reinvested that in something I could put in my career. I pretty much don't give a damn about hair anymore. So when people hear Spencer Kobren cured me, that's what I'm talking about. I don't give a damn about hair anymore. And it's the best thing that could have ever happened to me in my life. Because before Spencer Kobren cured me, I was thinking about hair probably 16 hours of the day, basically every waking moment. After Spencer Kobren cured me, I don't give a damn about hair.
Vic, listen, I really appreciate that. And we would have been able to use that as a really great clip and soundbite, but Joe kept clicking through the entire fucking thing and ruined it.
Oh man,
you need to give. Can you just say that again, Vic, one more time? I won't click.
Vic, listen, I'm really glad that, and we're going to take some more calls, but I'm really glad that first of all, thank you so much for your patronage and being, a fan of this broadcast for so long. And I don't remember you telling the story about reading the book. Maybe you didn't want to tell me because you didn't actually fucking put some money down for it, but that's okay. But you really have contributed to this broadcast, and you've helped a lot of people just by rehashing and sharing your story again. Listen, I mean,
I appreciate it, Spencer. I do apologize. I didn't buy the book. I was just a college student trying to make it. But I did. If it makes you feel any better, I told people about it.
Dude, I'm just busting your balls. It's okay. That's what
okay,
That's what Barnes. Believe me, somebody bought that book that you were thumbing through. Don't worry about it.
Definitely.
But, I mean, it's right now that book is in the bargain bin of these bookstores. If there are any bookstores that are still in existence.
Well, I still remember the cover. It was like blue and white, and it was the only book there that addressed hair loss. There was no other books there that addressed hair loss.
Well, there was a book, and this is an interesting. And I'm going to take a call in a second. But when I sold that book, this was at a time where there was a book called Help and Hope for Hair Loss by a doctor in New York that was published by Avalon Books. And I remember when I first went to find an agent, and we were trying to shop things around. No one wanted to touch me because that was such an abject failure in the market. And this was written by a very well-known doctor. Avalon thought, well, okay, this guy's got credentials. This is an interesting book on hair loss. But it really was just kind of like, in my view, like a sales tool, for this particular doctor. Didn't sell shit. It was out of print, very, very quickly. But you saw it a lot in the industry. I was able to kind of leverage a couple of things. The fact that I knew that Propecia was going to be approved at any time, and that I used finasteride and told my story. The fact that I was willing to out the industry, that was very sexy to my publishers. And also the fact that I had embargoed information about Angela Cristiano's finding the first gene linked to hair loss in December of 2000, and that was published in Nature in December of 1997. I already knew that was going to happen. So I was able to leverage all of that shit to create a bidding war from the top 4 publishers in the country. And I had no credentials. I was not a doctor. And I was just some dude willing to go out there and tell the truth. So it's interesting that you say that, because I was just having a conversation with somebody else about how I started in the field. So when you say there wasn't another book, there was another book. It just failed miserably.
Oh man, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But Spencer, I know I took a lot of your time. I'm gonna let you go. But one last thing to the viewers: if you're ever on the fence of anything, call Spencer Kobren. He's the only person in the industry outside of Joetronic and Specs who will pretty much not try to sell you anything. He will not try to sell you anything. Call Spencer Kobren before you make any decisions. Thank you so much, Spencer. You have a great day.
All right, man. You got it. Thanks a lot. Check us in the mail.
Thanks
by the
for calling,
way.
Vic.
Thanks. Take care, Vic.
Thanks.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. We do have a line open if anybody would like to get in. Those of you who are trying and saying that you can't get in, call us. We'll stay on the air for a little bit longer if the phones light up. Again, that's 888-659-3727. Listen, I love the sycophants, man.
Oh, yeah.
They're the best.
I got to correct him, though. Specs might try to sell you something. It might be hair gel.
That's true. You're right. You're right about that. You never know.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the Sharpton of the hair loss.
Yeah.
I don't really love that comparison. But I understand.
But what am I?
I understand what you're saying.
That's what I want to know.
How about the Ralph Nader?
You?
Yeah, of the hair loss industry. You could be the Sharpton.
No, I'm thinking. Actually, I'm thinking of what's his name? I can't think of his name. It's more of a comical figure than Al Sharpton. Not Jesse Jackson. Adam Blister.
More of a comical figure than that's hard to find, dude.
Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Short little Jewish guy.
Oh, there's so many of us.
I know.
I'm a tall Jewish guy, but yeah. Tallish. I don't think 6 feet tall is tall anymore. Like when I was a kid, it was tall. Now it's like it's not that tall.
It's still it's tall.
Only someone who's shorter than that would say that.
Let's see, God, it's on the tip. I just did a search for short Jewish comedian. I actually got a lot of results here, but he's not one.
You are the Woody Allen of the hair loss industry.
Not Woody Allen. He's got this really annoying voice too.
You are the Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Of the hair loss industry.
That's it. Sorry, that was a bad impersonation, but thank you.
You kind of sounded like what's her name from All in the Family. Let her rest in peace.
Oh God. Oh man. Old what's his name? I'm so bad with names tonight.
Well, I'll tell you. Oh, we're getting old. But I'll tell you what. You know what's interesting? When I listen to the program, when people call in who've been listening for years, and they like Vic and our friend from Romania and all the people that we've helped, and then I'm having it out with guys in the Facebook hair transplant community Facebook group, and I'm like, maybe if you guys just fucking listen to the show, you would see what we do. You would see how we affect this culture. You would see how people are attracted to us and how we are able to. Help to change behavior and, create smart consumerism. And you guys would stop your fucking impotent attempts to this is how I feel. This is being really cynical. I don't believe these people can be this stupid. I believe that there is something that is keeping that they're hiding something or they're
trolling you.
They're afraid to be exposed in some way, so they can't make the decision to actually be effective. Because if they are effective, then their entire house of cards falls apart. Is that a possibility, or are they that stupid?
Boy, you just opened up a can, didn't you?
I did.
You did. I think some of them are that stupid.
Do you think Ricky really is that off the wall, has such an inability to be a critical thinker?
I'll put it to you like this. There are doctors in this field that are in such a sphere of their own influence. You got to understand something. And look, doctors out there, I love you. You know I do. But sometimes you're in your own world. I've been in these clinics where, the doctor, first off, they're doctors. So there's already some sort of, there's a level of a complex there. Let's not fool ourselves. But the second thing is usually when they have their own clinic, they have this little microverse of yes people around them. And that creates this, what's this, what did Steve Jobs call it? The
ecosystem?
No, not the ecosystem, but the reality, reality.
Just let it go, dude. Just get past it and think of another word.
I'm trying to. But anyway, they create their own universe of thought.
And by the way, guys, hold on. We'll take your calls in a second.
And they're exposed to what we deal with on a very different level. And I don't think that it translates well into understanding their market overall. There are doctors out there that get it and love them to death. There are doctors out there that don't get it, and I think that this is part of the reason why they've created these walls to their own critical thinking, to where they can't understand the simplest concepts when it comes to patient education.
I think you're being far too kind. I think either they are stupid or they are trying to hide something.
Well, I look at it, okay. I mean, I look at it like this. It's like I don't think they're stupid because they got through medical school somehow.
By the way, I'm just kidding, guys. I really am kidding. I'm just trying to be a little bit controversial here. I don't think there are anomalies that are out there, which I mentioned today. But I think most of you guys are incredibly smart. But there's a difference between being smart, being learned, and having qualifications. And I think that most of the people who are taking on this job to try to change this field don't have the qualifications to do so. Yeah. Period. Sorry. How's that? No. I'm just being honest.
No, that's fine. But it's look, it goes back to conversations that you've had, conversations that I've had with people that are in a position to actually make some sort of change, but they don't understand the basic fundamentals of what needs to be done, and they're more concerned about the little nuances of meetings and what exactly did you mean when you said this, as opposed to, oh, okay, well, we all need to be on board. Sure, let's work together and make things happen. What do we need to do?
I expressed to someone who's actually very open-minded. This person, a former president of the ISHS, is literally the first person who's ever in that position who I believe, and I don't know if this person is going to be able to move the needle. That would be great if this person could, but who truly gets what we're doing and admitted that we should be doing things your way and using your information, so on and so forth. But this person came up and, even with that understanding, was concerned about me going out there. And I was trying to explain how, look, I don't sell any products or services. And this person said, well, I mean, what about marketing, some of my colleagues? And I'm like, I've never sold a hair transplant in my fucking life. I have no online consultations on my organization. I refuse to put them up there. Anyone who does and is involved with that is possibly in violation of HIPAA. Mm-hmm. So you probably shouldn't do that to begin with. And I explained it to this person. And I said, everyone, it's kind of like the telephone game. Everyone believes hearsay and innuendo. And even some people who are with the IHRS are like, well, it's good marketing. That's not why you're part of it. That's not why you were accepted to be a part of it. So I've kind of let that go years ago when these guys kind of, would put that out there. I just put my head down, did my own thing, and educated consumers. And I explained to this person that their support and me accepting them and they're supporting our message with their membership dues, like they pay dues for any other organization, has helped more people than they could ever possibly know. And I think once I explained that to this person was, again, I did it, pretty impressed. Let's put it that way. Pretty impressed with the fact that their contribution made such a difference in people's lives. Now, I also explained to this person that I currently have a list of people who want to be a part of the IHRS that I could actually bring on. It's about 240 something people after I went through the database. So collectively, with the current members that I have, that would be more Americans that are part of the IHRS than who are part of the ISHRS. And it would be a complete takeover if I wanted to go that route. I do not want to fracture the organization. Guys, call back. I'll take your calls right now. 888-659-3727. My goal is not to fracture this industry and the ISHRS. My goal is to save the ISHRS because I think the ISHRS has tremendous value to this field. They just don't understand what their value is. They've lost their way. They're not sticking to their mission.
And people, if you're watching from the UK, the number is 0203.
I just had a full board.
3724.
I had 5 lines lit.
683.
I had 5 lines lit. I don't think there was nothing wrong with the phones. I just saw them dropping as I keep talking about the politics. And I understand that. But you guys need to know this because there are physicians who are listening out there. We can change this field for all the guys who are out there who are trying to be helped.
We talked to a lot of different people.
Yeah, and doing their research out there who are so lost. What's happening in the industry now, you are confusing the consumer more than ever. You are making it more difficult for your colleagues your good, ethical surgeons, real hair transplant surgeons, to compete in this environment. And when I mean compete, I'm talking about competing for eyeballs. Forget about the money. They're out there to help patients. You're making it more difficult than ever for good doctors to actually connect with patients and help them. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen such a fucking abortion in my life. I make you uncomfortable, don't I, Jeff?
No, just some of the terminology used, just like out of left field. Last thing I expect. I mean, my favorite is the dialysis of the industry. I love that one. But
well, and I did. I mean, essentially, with the IHRS, I am going to be, and I already started the dialysis. You're seeing new guys who I brought on and guys that I've removed. And that's in the next year, as you see things grow, it's going to be a very significant dialysis. I do not want anybody to be part of what we do who isn't fully on board with affecting change. If you're a politician, I'm not interested.
Guys in the chat room that have questions, call North America 1-888-659-3727. In the UK, 0203-3724-683.
And I know somebody actually wanted to call, and I'm going to see if they're willing to call in now because they probably were trying. I'm going to say we have open lines. I know that Undercover Doc wanted to say something real quickly, but it's possible that he's taking a walk right now, or he's having a massage, or whatever rich doctors do in the afternoon besides work.
Dr. Cole's in the room. What have I missed?
Dr. Cole, call in because we're just about to drop. We had a full board. We just lost people. So call in so we can talk a little bit more about the industry. You are the perfect guy to speak about. You were about this. You were part of some of the discussions we were having on the hair transplant community Facebook group. I like to bring some of the stuff that's being spoken about to light and let consumers in on and let them, become privy to the conversations, not only that we have, through the program, but that we have, in the industry. Because we have a real opportunity to pivot, to affect change. And for whatever reason, I had mentioned to Joe that I can't believe these guys are that dumb. There's got to be a real reason why they don't want to affect change. Either they're afraid of it, they're hiding something, and they think that if they actually affect change instead of just running around like the fucking Keystone Cops, getting nothing done, that they're somehow going to maintain this facade. But the reality is that they are fracturing their own organization. They are putting their own colleagues in harm's way, let alone the damage that they're doing to, in my view, to consumers. Let's see. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's me, Dr. Cole.
Hey, Dr. Cole.
Hey, Doc.
So I know that I come across as sometimes being abrasive, and I know that you have the same problem. But the reality is, I'm speaking. It's not a matter of opinion when I talk about the history of the field, and what's transpired over the years. It's a matter of fact, and there's no arguing anything that no reasonable, honest physician can argue the points that I've been making or that you've been making in these discussion groups.
Well, they're trying. They're not making a very good argument.
Well, I've never seen
your head against the wall.
It is like banging your head, but I've actually never seen it. It's so easy to school these guys as far as if a reasonable person were to read the dialogue, but it's like, and when we're dealing with Ricky, it's like I can't even believe what comes out of his mouth.
And what doesn't come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And what doesn't sink in.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
I can only imagine what happens in the board meetings.
I don't think anything happens in the board. I think everyone talks about, they go down their list of things that they have to get through for that hour or that 2 hours, and then they talk about it briefly, yay or nay. Everything's usually nay, unless it's something that's really going to be ineffective. Then there's a yay vote, and that's it. Skull and crossbones, good idea.
They spend 3 or 4 hours, 3-4 hours on those calls sometimes. And I can imagine there's a lot of bad mouthing going on that you never hear about. The whole point is they've had this scheme to do away with what they consider to be the black market really since the middle of 2014. And it hasn't worked. The problem's just gotten worse.
Right.
And they just want to put more gas on the fire. And what's that going to do? It's going to exponentially make the problem worse.
I actually believe that, and this is controversial, and there are those who would say that I'm incorrect and that I am somehow, harming their reputation, which I'm not. They're doing it to themselves. I actually think that they created the black market. If there is such a thing as a black market, I actually believe that the black market is just simply the market. This is just the new normal. But there's always been essentially, according to their definition, there's always been a black market since the inception of this field.
Well, yeah, I personally believe there is as well that they if they haven't created the black market, they will create the black market through their efforts. I think that they're going to anger a whole bunch of doctors by trying to restrict their trade, and that's going to backfire on them big time, potentially with legal ramifications, but more importantly, dilute what limited power they have over the field going forward. I think they're losing control of the industry, not just from the perspective of creating a whole lot of competition that is needlessly created, but the quality of their scientific meetings is going down because they're running off the talent.
Well, I mean, I think, and again, from your perspective, as someone who's been involved for a very long time, you see that, what you consider to be a decline. What I see is I see that there's still tremendous opportunity. Let what they let them stick in their lane. Let them really, develop the educational process, and bring in everybody that they can to provide not only a service to the public, but let new physicians, in on what needs to be done to really perform hair transplant surgery to state-of-the-art standards. Instead of just dealing with the politics and the bullshit, they can forget all about that. We got that covered.
Well,
we can take care of that. All we have to do is be able to collaborate, and the field will flourish. People's lives. I mean, all these doctors don't. I mean, when they're having these arguments and they're wasting time with me on Facebook, they can actually be improving people's lives.
Well, that was the intention, really, of the ISHRS to begin with, was an educational organization.
Right.
And they moved to that. They've moved away from that to a political organization.
Right.
And that's not the lane they're supposed to be in. The lane they're supposed to be in is to educate and inform doctors, and as you say, make doctors better by giving them educational opportunities.
Right.
It's not for them to determine who is good and who isn't good. All doctors should be treated to some degree similarly, and given the opportunity through education to raise the standard and quality of their care. But don't try to tell a doctor how to run his practice. That's something that belongs in the lane of the IHRS and consumer advocacy agencies. That is what, with the IHRS can help to, through influencing patients to choose the proper doctors, the good doctors, and avoid the bad ones.
No, the only way that I've tried to influence the patients, and that's it was not by directly influencing them, is by giving them the ability and empower them so they can make their own smart choices. That's it. It's a very simple concept that for some reason the powers that be don't fully understand. You cannot tell a millennial what the fuck to do. What you do is you give them choices, and you say, look, this is the reality. Learn from this and make an informed decision before you go down the wrong path.
The problem with this situation is that people that don't understand a situation want to be able to put it into a box so that they can easily identify it and then take it from there. And when you take something like the hair transplant industry and you try to break it into two different parts, the regular industry that is, the fine, upstanding, ethical doctors doing the right thing, and then the black market, you're going to fail, because that black market is actually spread all around and influxing into the existing market, to where you have more people that are actually quote unquote black market than not black market. So therefore, like Spencer says, the black market is the market. And you can't take something that it's like taking a cancer that's riddled throughout your body and trying to define it by putting it into a little box and trying to understand it in a black and white scenario when you've not even gotten past the 6th grade. It doesn't work that way. And so if these doctors can just take a moment and think beyond the box of what we're talking about, or what they're talking about, where it's not an easily defined black market. It is the market. It is the doctor down the street that may be part of the ISHRS or doesn't even care about the ISHRS because they're already a true validated and certified plastic surgeon that is already doing great in their own specialty, and picked up hair just because someone came in with a machine and said, here's an extra $50,000 a month for your revenue.
Well, let me tell you, and I'll let Dr. Cole speak to that, but here's the reality. This is what's happening. And if doctors don't understand this, and maybe Dr. Cole may not have even seen this yet, but now there are large companies that are backed by venture capitalists that are now the biggest prescribers of finasteride, bar none. Companies like Hims, companies like Keeps. Do you not think eventually they're not going to figure out a way or get involved with, promoting hair transplant surgeons as well? And who do you think they're going to promote? Who do you think is going to be on their 1-800 dentist outfits? It's going to be these. It's going to be the new normal.
Yeah.
It's going to be these plastic surgeons with turnkey devices. Period. The ISHRS is fighting a battle without the weapons to win, and they have an opportunity right now to pivot and to change everything. But what's going to happen if they don't is that people are going to be harmed. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't know if you saw it, financially it doesn't make a difference to me. The worse it gets, the more money I make. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah. Part of the issue with the black market concept is that some of the guys that are supposed to be in the black market are actually doing better surgery than some of the people that are in the ISHRS.
That is the truth.
But the concern is doctors that don't know anything about hair transplant surgery, who are buying machines and doing surgery, using assistants to perform the entire surgery and getting horrible results. So when I say influence, I really mean that the IHRS is a consumer advocacy agency that doesn't recommend physicians, but rather accepts members based on the degree of quality that they provide a level of service to patients.
Correct.
I think one of the big concerns that the ISHRS has is they have not grown beyond the perception that you're recommending certain doctors over other doctors. And some of the doctors that happen to be on the board may not be IAHRS members.
Correct.
Or accepted members. So everybody has to get beyond this concern about the guy next door that might take a patient from you every few months and recognize that the real risk to them, if they're, because I honestly believe the ICHRS is more focused on economics than they are in making the world a safer place for patients. They need to get beyond that and recognize that it's not the one or two patients they lose here and there to a good doctor that may be an accepted member of the IHRS. It's the tens and 20s and 30s patients that they lose every few months to doctors who don't know anything about what they're doing, but are scraping off the cream and providing a poor quality service. So the ISHRS needs to recognize the dangers to the industry, stop worrying about their individual pocketbooks, and start focusing on making the world a better place through education, and let the consumer advocacy groups influence patients by giving them a list of potential doctors that might be good, and then let the patient choose the physician that is best suited for the individual patient.
Well, and the thing is, and that was very well said, and that is the truth. But the thing is, as we evolve and as we have, and like I said, I have people who just want to support our message, who, are willing to change the infrastructure of their practices, who are willing to follow people like you, Dr. Cole, and to really learn. Even the younger guys, I'd rather work with guys like that than the old politicians who I know maybe they've been doing good work for a long time, but young guys are willing to adapt and adopt the state of the art hair transplant surgery into their practices, and they can do it relatively quickly because they have eye-hand coordination. They have the prey drive, so to speak, where they want to be on top of their game because they know that if they join the ranks of people like you and learn from people like you, that they're going to be the leaders. They're going to have the pocketbooks. The thing is, these members shouldn't worry about their pocketbooks because eventually, or the old school guys, because eventually they're going to be out of business. That's just the way that it is. They're not going to be able to be a part of this field. They're not going to be able to help the patients in their individual practices the way that they were if they stick to the politics of this. That's the biggest problem that I see. Some of the old guys who are really good at what they do, they can't get past their ideological prejudices. Even guys who are with me still protect their master society because they get some sort of, I understand that they get meaning out of it. They want to be part of this group. That's all fine and good. But you got to take a stand in life.
Yeah, there's a degree of protectionism to one's practice in this field that doesn't seem to exist in many other fields of medicine. And I think perhaps because they're all competing for patients. So even though the doctors in this field pretend many times to be collegial, they're really not. They're too concerned with the economics and not concerned enough with what's in the best interest of the patient. You know, there should be more open communication between physicians who are even in the same city. Like, I've got this difficult case. I know you are better at this sort of thing than I am, so why don't you take this patient? And it doesn't happen. You know, the doctors try to squeeze that patient off and provide a service that maybe they're not as good at.
Right.
You know, in any other field of medicine, they say, this is a really difficult case of cancer. I'm going to send them to you.
Well, I've heard guys who are very well, they're revered in this industry, and they've told me, with a wink and a nod, yeah, I'll train somebody, but I won't give them all my tricks. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on here? Listen, Doc, I'm going to actually keep you potted up. We have Undercover Doc who's calling in, who wants to be part of this conversation. You're both going to be able to speak. So let me see if I could make this happen.
Okay.
Undercover Doc, is that you?
Yeah, it's me. All right.
What's happening? You're on the line with Dr. John Cole and, of course, Joe Tillman.
Yeah, I was listening, but then I thought maybe I was listening to a previous show. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Turns out I was listening to the right show.
It's always the same.
I want to mention something. Yeah, I want to mention something here. There's a lot of different combinations and permutations of what the black market is. In other words, there's a lot of ways that somebody out there practicing hair restoration or doing hair transplants can be doing it and not doing it above board or ethically or legally, And one of the reasons that bothers me, why I keep going back to that instead of just going forward with getting the message out there, is because in my own case, for example, when I started school, it took me 4 years, actually a fifth year, because I played sports in college. I didn't major in a pre-med major, so I got through college in 5, had to take an extra year and a half. That's 6.5 years of college. I had one semester off before I started medical school, and then add 4 more years. That's 10.5 years of college, of school. And then on top of that, numerous tests to get licensing and so on, and training. And then I happened to have gone through a scholarship program that caused me to have to sacrifice more time in my life to pay back the debt that I would have incurred. In other words, I did a public payback.
Right.
And considering all that, we're talking about 15 years of sacrifice to get my medical degree and license. So when I see somebody coming out of no education, or even an older person with no education, who's getting paid way more than they deserve for doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, they're legally not supposed to be doing it, I have a problem with that. So if I find a tech out there, for example, being paid between $500 and $2,000 to work under a doctor's wing who shouldn't be doing what he's doing, I have a problem with that. And that may be past history now, but it's not really past in my mind, And so what I think is, one of the problems we have is we never do define what these techs are doing in such a way that it's clear to everybody that what they're doing is illegal.
Well, but when I finally was able to, when I showed you, and I made the clear definition by saying this is the way the world works in medicine. And it was like a real aha moment for you.
Yes, it was, because the wool had been sort of pulled over my eyes for many years in the ISHRF, because they had reassured me all along that what we were doing, without question, was proper. And then 5 years ago in San Francisco, I got to talk to the culprit who owned Neograft at the time, who actually pissed on my shoes right there in the lobby of the hotel. And what he told me was so interesting that I said, you should be able to say that at the meeting, at the podium, instead of being kicked out. You should be able to view this for everyone to hear. Maybe they will wake up. But nobody listened to me. That was 5 years ago, okay? And still today, we sit around pretending that we've been all above board. In fact, if there's a question that we're not, and everybody's corrupt, we need to clarify that before we can argue
Dr.
about
Cole,
it.
Dr. Cole has been trying to get that message out forever, and they're not listening to him.
Well,
yeah.
All right.
You know,
what does it take to get somebody to listen?
What it takes is
somebody that matters.
It actually takes relevance. It takes economic relevance and economic pressure for these guys to change. Period. That's it. That's what it's going to take. You hit him in the pocketbook, everything changes. Ricky is no longer running around, doing what he's doing in what I believe is a completely reckless and irresponsible way that not only can potentially harm his colleagues, but can put patients in harm's way. And they are just, I believe that they are just not equipped to deal with the possible consequences of their actions.
I believe they're starting to listen because economically it is starting to pinch. And that's the only reason they're listening. Otherwise, they'd be continuing down this reckless pathway. I see this sort of dichotomy here where part of them wants to work with you guys and let the economic pressure of consumer advocacy influence the industry, and part of them can't let go. And I think also, I hate to say it, undercover, but if you're concerned about the economics of what's going on with these technicians, you're sort of missing the boat there. There are technicians that do better surgery than surgeons, and it's not necessarily illegal because there's been no ruling by any state medical board I know of that's saying you can't do that in the state.
And that's the thing that I've run into. I've actually called different medical boards of various states and provinces up here in Canada, and they don't even know how to classify what FUE is. I explain the procedure to them, and they keep throwing me to different departments trying to find an answer. So imagine someone else actually trying to figure this out. It's like I don't see how anyone can even figure this out if they don't understand it. They can't.
Well,
can't.
That's why Undercover says that until we can define the things you're talking about, Joe, we can't argue about it. Because if nothing's defined and nobody knows what can and cannot be done, how can you argue one guy versus the other being above board or not? And by the way, if you don't think the Neograph doc, for example, who's not interested in learning about hair restoration and is only interested in making money, having two techs in his basement doing it that way, if you think that we're not losing big time on that, we are, because all those Neograph machines in the hands of plastic surgeons, because of their in-house marketing, they have those credentials, and they've got people coming through, being recommended by people that don't know any better, like hairdressers and other people in their neighborhood or in their practice. All it takes for them to get a patient in a chair there is their credentials, and their credentials are impressive to the lay public.
You know, it had to take a conversation in a hallway. Okay, after actually I saw you, Undercover Doc, at the meeting in Hollywood. I took a conversation in the hallway with the new president, who essentially disagreed with me, and a former president who understood me. And this person happens to be a board-certified surgeon. But I had to explain exactly what you just said to them. And one person, there may be a slight language barrier, but I said, look, this whole surgeons have to do surgery, you guys are boxing out the vast majority of your organization by saying that. Change it to physicians if that's the route you want to go. But the board-certified plastic surgeons and the people who actually have surgical residencies are going to eat you guys for lunch. You're giving them a gift, and they changed it. Yeah. Finally.
That's true. Yeah. But there's a good result, bad result argument too here going on, because if unqualified, if we know what unqualified is, if somebody unqualified is actually participating when they shouldn't be and producing good results, if we could really say that that's not proper, if we really knew that, then that person shouldn't be doing the surgery. I don't care if the results are great.
But that's the point. We can't argue that point now because it hasn't been put out there. Now, if these people really wanted that to happen, I can make that happen. I can make it clear. I can send out petitions to 50 states, and I'm not going to be specific. And I can get a declarative statement from each state making it clear that what they are doing may not be proper, if you know what I mean. So there's a lot of ways to to kind of get these definitions put into
I'm
place.
not a legal person, but I've gotten cease and desist orders before in my lifetime. What about a cease and desist order? If we can define it and then send it to them so they're warned. In other words, they're going to be watched. Let them know that somebody might drop in on them. Let them know that somebody undercover might come in their office.
Well, it's interesting you say that because we actually have some things in the works where
when we make that movie, when you and I make that movie, maybe that's the way we're going to get the word out there.
Possibly.
There you go.
Possibly. But, you guys have both been part of the ISHRS since the beginning. Since Dr. Cole, did you go to the first meeting?
Oh, yeah, I was very excited. Very excited. 93. It's like a kid in a candy store, man.
That's good.
Yeah, well,
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, new to the industry, and couldn't wait to just jump in and change the world.
Well, I think the bottom line now is that the argument should cease, and everyone should just be concentrating on moving forward in a direction that makes this a safer place for consumers, a better environment for real hair transplant surgeons, and then if we want to revisit the legality issues, it's always going to be there. We can take care of that.
You're right about that, but I think that we should concentrate on things moving forward that we can control. Right now, this other questions are out of our control, where we haven't been effective in trying to fight it, but we're not fighting it with the right team. The ISHRS is not the team that should be handling this for us. We should hire the proper people to do it. Some legal minds that have been through this before, because somebody called it or somebody said it earlier. This issue with us, that's not new to medical practices.
Right.
They've been fighting this issue in all the fields. Somebody's been handling it. Legal people, not the ISHRS. They're not trained to do this. Not their job.
To play devil's advocate there undercover, suppose the ISHRS does hire their legal team. They're probably outnumbered today by the plastic surgeons and the non-ISHRS members. Who now all of a sudden you're picking a war with them. Why don't they hire their legal team, and they potentially have even more money, and they create an even bigger problem for the ISHRS, and then start telling ISHRS members, if you're not a board-certified plastic surgeon, you're not fit to perform hair transplant surgery.
I'm gonna let Undercover Doc speak on that, but I can tell you this right now: the ISHRS doesn't have the legs, and they don't have the credentials. They're not the AAD. They're not the they're not the ASPS. They're not the American Board of Plastic Surgeons. They don't have that ABMS credential certification. It is a group of doctors who've decided to become cosmetic surgeons from all different practices and disciplines of medicine. They could never win, period. Forget about the money. The plastic surgeons could spend less money, and they will eat you guys for lunch. That's just the reality.
Well, if you think that we should only fight the battles we think we can win, that's one thing. But on the other hand, the plastic surgeons have told me what their argument is. That is, this is the way it's been done. This is now the standard of care. If it weren't for that fact, we wouldn't have hair transplants at all. Therefore, if we go to court, my lawyers tell me that we will win this case.
Right. It is. Well, you will, because the standard of care was created 30 years ago initially, and then for FUE, the standard of care has been around for 15 years.
So they will win that argument, even though for 15 years they've decided that they can dictate what
if they are smart enough to file the petitions to the state medical boards using the right language and then go to court, they will win.
Then what should we do?
It's again, you have to do things creatively. You have to circumvent this bullshit that you guys are trying to, or the ISHRS are trying to follow, and get direct to the consumer. Let them know.
Where it starts.
That's where it starts.
That's what influences everything. The entire market is based on what the consumer wants. And you educate the consumer on what they should want versus what they do want, then that's when things change.
Look, I posted this in our private chat about a story in the Washington Post about the investigation. I did a program on it was an investigation on the investigation of my brother's death. And when I tried to go through the normal route, so to speak, trying to get legislation passed, trying to deal with the state's attorney's office, trying to deal with the police, I was shut down. So what did I do? I decided to make this a public crusade. And in the end, laws were changed. My sister-in-law won a wrongful death suit that was a slam dunk that will set up my nephew for a very, very long time. And I made a lot of people uncomfortable, but I educated a lot of people and helped a lot of people who were in a similar position as I was. And I was a fixture on the local news for well over a year. We could do the same thing on an international level if everyone supports us. And we can change the rules. And we can also educate consumers. You guys have to understand that you have to be creative about this. And that's my point.
In the meantime, should I just go out and get the best techs I can find, and I'll guide them into doing a good hair transplant. In the meantime, because time's wasting, my friend. Time's wasting.
Well, listen, you got a shorter amount of time than I do, probably. But I can tell.
Not necessarily, guys.
That's true.
My gene pool's better than yours.
How do you know?
I don't.
My dad smoked 2 packs of Chesterfields a day and drank Jack Daniels till he was 91.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Doc.
Well, my grandfather, he chewed tobacco until he was 102.
Dr. Cole.
There's no better example of consumer pressure on physicians than the transition from strip surgery to FUE.
100%.
And, it started out with 2%, 3% of the patient population. That today it's well over 50%. And over at a recent ISHRS meeting, that was about 3 years ago, 90% of the surgeons in attendance said they provide FUE. I can tell you that when I walked into New York in 2004 or 2003, everybody in the room looked at me like I was crazy because I was championing FUE. Today, they all say they provide it. And it was consumer pressure. And all it takes is a good consumer campaign. And people will understand the risk of going to surgeons who are unqualified. And then they will have a choice of whom to choose. And we're not talking about 2 or 3 surgeons. We're talking about a global body of surgeons that these patients can choose from. Some will be in countries that are economically more suitable, and others will be in, for example, the United States, and the cost will be much greater. But a good consumer campaign is something that you can control by participating. And to do this, when we create content, you simply need to like it and share it and subscribe and make sure that all of your friends read this content, and these friends in turn will share it, and that before you know it, it goes viral.
And
everybody knows.
And with that said, I was speaking to a former president of the ISHRS who, after I sent an undercover doc, you'll appreciate this. Some of my undercover.
Shirley, Jeff.
Don't call me Shirley. But I sent a few undercover doc segments, a few undercover tech segments, and some other things. This person said, how do we share this, or how do we link to this from the ISHRS? Why are we not using this? And I had explained to this person, first of all, I don't know why you're not. You don't have to link to it. We can provide all this content. You can create your own robust media section on your site, and all of your doctors could share this stuff. And this person said, well, why, how come I don't know about this? Why isn't this happening? I'm like, because the people in charge right now don't want you to know about it. They don't want to, they believe that by doing that, they are giving us credibility, when in fact, in my view, we're giving them credibility. We are the organizations that are looked at by the mainstream media. We're the organizations that the consumers come to. We get the most content out there that really provides people with the information that, again, conversations that they would normally not be privy to, so they can be empowered. These people don't have the ability or the skill set to produce this type of content. That's the way it is. It's not their wheelhouse. Listen, I can't go in there and cut somebody's scalp open or perform FUE surgery. That's not what I do. Stick to your wheelhouse, collaborate with the right people, and we change everything.
Yeah, we need the ISHRS membership to just let go. Let go and let you guys take charge and focus on education and teaching physicians good skills, and the world will start to change.
That's it. I think we're going to end on that note, except unless Undercover Doc has something else he wants to add.
You mean, does the Undercover Doc get to tell you that joke?
Yeah.
I got a joke. Nothing to do with hair. Nothing to do with hair.
All right.
You might call it a stoner joke. Actually, I was told that after I told it. But last night I saw Howie Mandel, and the comedian that came on, and he was very good, by the way, better than I expected. But the comedian before him told this joke. It's a good one. Listen. So in the middle of the jungle, there's a monkey up the tree, sitting there smoking pot, and he's getting real high and he's enjoying it. And
why am I picturing Ricky when you're telling me this joke?
Because he's sitting up the tree smoking the weed.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the lizard comes along and says, "Hey man, what you doing up there?" He goes, "Well, I'm smoking some weed. Come on up. You want to?" Lizard goes up and they smoke pot for about 3 hours. And lizard says, "Man, I'm getting thirsty. I got to go down and get a drink." So the lizard goes down to the water. There's a pond there, and he's drinking, and up comes an alligator. The alligator says, "What you doing, man?" And the lizard says, "Well, I was up in the tree smoking pot with the monkey up there. He wants you just going over." So the alligator says, "Okay." Alligator goes over the tree and looks up and says, "Hey, man, what you doing up there?" The monkey looks down and says, "Man, how the fuck much water did you drink?" You get it?
How can you not get it? What am I?
I don't know.
Who am I, Ricky?
You might not have been listening.
The lizard drinks so much water, he got huge. He's an alligator.
And the stone monkey.
Yeah.
If you have to explain the joke, then it's already done.
Yeah. That's an old man move.
It was good.
I just want to make sure that I be sure I told it well enough, because I wasn't being able to read I couldn't read your facial expression because I turned my other phone over. So plus they're not synchronized for some reason. So I had to just go by taking a chance that it would come out all right. I guess it did.
It worked out, Undercover Doc, as it always does.
Okay.
And I want to thank both of you and Dr. John Cole for calling in. I think, and we're going to get the show out, at least this segment out, pretty quickly. I think it's important that physicians see this and that the industry see this. There's a lot we can do. Stop stifling yourselves. Stop hamstringing yourselves. And allow
I only got one question for Doc Cole. If he's still there, if he's not, I can ask it more easily. But I almost didn't want to ask this. But man, you were one of those ones they call the early adapter. You got out there in 2003. I remember seeing you down there in New York. I came for a visit. But anyway,
you came for
what the hell? What the hell did you do with all that money, man? 2003 doing FUE when nobody else was doing it.
Boy.
That's a story. That's for another show. I understand. We'll leave it at that.
I gave that to the ex-wife.
I was afraid that was what you were going to say.
He's trying to give me money now.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Awesome, man.
That's all I got. That's all I got tonight.
All right, guys. Listen. Thanks so much, Docs. I really appreciate you calling in. It was a great show. Dr. John Cole, you can check him out. You can learn more about him. If you don't, you have to be living under a rock if you don't know who he is. But go to ihs.org and check him out.
There's a lot of shit under rocks, man. I found that out firsthand.
Well, there can
be.
If
they haven't turned over the rock, they may not know.
That's
anyway.
right. Well, and Undercover Doc, I can't give out your information because you're undercover, But eventually.
What about that movie we're going to make though on this subject? What do you think?
Look,
the movie.
Look, I'm into
Undercover Doc.
I'm into it.
Movie.
I'm into it.
Who's going to play you?
John Cold. John Cold play himself. He'll be able to come on and play himself.
We'll all play ourselves.
We could do it animated. An animator would be able to draw all of our pictures. Might even be funnier.
All right, guys, we're gonna call it a night. Thanks so much for calling in, and I'm gonna hang up right now. Take care, guys.
Okay.
Night.
Good
night,
guys.
Take care. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out, tuning in, and not tuning out, because I think what we accomplished tonight was probably more profound than most of you really realize who are just listening.
Yeah.
The physicians who are listening to this program, the physicians who participated on this program, really said a lot of really important, put out a lot of important information. And I think that if there are doctors out there who are helping to control the flow of information in this field within their own ranks, get this information out to the right people, we can really affect change pretty quickly. And that's my hope. Look, I don't need to continue to beat this drum. I mean, people think I'm nuts that I'm doing this, but I have a real passion for it. And I also know that we can make this happen. So I want to do it. I want to accomplish this goal. So let's change the field. Let's help hair loss sufferers, and let's get this information out to the people who need it the most. And that's the vulnerable patient. Fuck the doctors. That's how I feel about it. If these guys don't get it, then they're not going to be included. If you don't want to help to bake the pie, then you don't get a piece.
And that's the thing. There are a lot of people out there that do. Next.
Yeah. I got a lot of new bakers.
Yeah.
A lot of guys who want to become bakers. And we'll just make that happen. Websites. thebaldtruth.com. Check out archives for this broadcast. Just put up a segment with our UK contributor, Spencer Specs Stevenson, talking to one of our UK patients. Our patients. He's not my patient, but he's a patient, a listener who is a hair transplant patient from the UK. We'll be getting segments out of this broadcast, which I'm very behind on everything. I did have the time to edit a lot of content from my interviews when we had surgeons here in Hollywood, in studio, really great stuff, really powerful stuff from Dr. John Cole and some other guys. So we'll be drip feeding that stuff out shortly. I think I may be able to get the first segment out tomorrow. So we'll let you know about that. baldtruthtalk.com is our message form, so check that out. And don't forget to subscribe to The Bald Truth. Just put your email address in there. We don't send you anything. We don't sell you anything, but it certainly helps the show. Subscribe to Joe Tillman's YouTube channel, which is, excuse me, it's youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. And Joe doesn't only just put the show on the air. He does a lot of other things, like takes a hell of a lot of time to produce some really great content to educate you guys. So I don't have the patience for that shit. I can tell you that. So
it's a labor of love.
It is a labor of love. I don't think Joe gets the props that he deserves especially from the industry, for doing what he does. So
that goes without saying, but I get my appreciation from you, the viewer, and I do appreciate it. I talk to you guys all the time, and if you do appreciate it, then like this video, like this broadcast. We only got 13 likes down below. Some bonehead did a dislike. That's fine. Doesn't have to appeal to everyone. But we got 30 watching right now. And
it might have been Ricky.
Likes. No, it might have been Ricky.
It might have been Ricky.
What else we got? Other websites. Forums. Those that are supporting this broadcast starting off with hairlossexperiences.com. It is primarily a UK-based forum, but being the interwebs, we've all got access to it and lots of great information. It is operated by a repair patient. He's a good guy. He's not a psychopath, and he supports our message and allows us to broadcast through his forum. We do appreciate him greatly. That is hairlossexperiences.com. Next up, we've got bellycapelli.forumfree.it. Funny name for a funny language. It's Italian, but lots of great information. Your modern browser will translate the forum into the language of your choice, be it English or Swahili or what have you. A lot of great information, again, run by a repair patient that's a great guy and understands what we do and loves supporting our message as well. That is bellycapelli.forumfree.it. And finally, we've got a new addition to those that are supporting this broadcast, and that is International Hair Loss Forum, which is primarily a French-based forum, but of course your browsers will translate. Very active forum, lots of great people asking questions, answering questions, and participating for the greater good. And the owner of that forum, not a repair patient, but a good guy all around. He supports what we do, and we want to support him. So that's International Hair Loss Forum. That's it.
And check out Joe's personal website, which is hairtransplantmentor.com, where you can find out everything and anything you need to know about Joe's hair loss and hair transplant journey, from getting fucked up to being where he is right now. Hair transplant poster boy of the world.
Of the world.
Of the
Of
world.
the world.
Of the world. American Hair Loss Association, we're working on updating that site. American Hair Loss Association is, thanks to everybody in the mainstream media, is the most referenced hair loss resource in the world. Period. That is in the world. That is a fact. And the IHRS, if you're considering surgical hair restoration, check out the IHRS. We are the only hair transplant organization, again, in the world that has been endorsed by Consumer Reports, Consumer's Digest, and also is recommended by WebMD. No one else can say that. Why do I say that? Because I can. It's the truth. I don't know why these other organizations don't want to leverage that power. It's crazy to me.
That is a big deal.
It's stupidity. Anyway, until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night.
I always hear a lot of guys calling in, and they're always like, down and out about their haircuts.
Sure.
I lost my hair when I was 16 to 17 years old.
That's heavy.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's all good, man. And the funny thing is that I've learned to overcome it. And I've had a much, I'm